First of all, place a service plate in the center of the cover. The service plate is the largest plate on your table setting. It is known by a few different names such as buffet plate, cover plate, lay plate, place plate, and charger plate. It serves as an underplate for the plate holding the first course. When the first course is cleared, the service plate remains in place for any other courses, such as a soup course, until the plate holding the entree is served. It is the point at which two plates are exchanged. The charger may serve as an underplate for several courses which precede the entree. Now comes the butter plate. A butter plate is placed at upper left corner of service plate, that is at 11 o'clock above the forks. In order to avoid hiding a utensil under the rim of a plate or bowl, lay it approximately 1 inch away from the plate's side. Place a butter knife diagonally, that is, crossing the plate at 4 o'clock with handle on the right and blades facing down. Next comes the silverware, where all the forks are placed on the left and knives and spoons on the right side of the service plate. A guest uses the silverware at the outside, left and right, and then work towards in. Dinner fork and knife are placed at immediate left and right of the service plate. Remember, the cutting blades of all knives should be facing inward or toward the service plate. If you are serving a fish course, place the fish fork to immediate left of dinner fork and fish knife to the right of dinner knife. For appetizer and salad, put salad fork next to fish fork and salad knife next to fish knife. If tea or soup course is served separately, then teaspoon and soup spoon are placed right next to knives. If shellfish are to be served, the oyster fork goes to the right of the spoons. It is the only fork ever placed on the right of the plate. It can also be used for seafood cocktail. Dessert spoon and dessert fork can be placed horizontally above the dinner plate in a crisscross fashion, that is, with the spoon on top and its handle facing right, and the fork below with its handle facing left or beside the plate. Now comes glassware. The water goblet. It is placed directly above at approximately 1 inch from the tip of the dinner knife. Just to the right goes a champagne flute. In front of these are a red and white wine glass and a sherry glass. If the table setting seems spacious, there is a room to arrange glassware in any way one likes, such as in a straight line parallel with the edge of the table or a diagonal line angled towards table's edge. When a coffee cup and saucer are used, then the coffee cup and saucer are placed above and to the right of the knife and spoons. If using a salad plate or fish plate, it is placed to the left of the forks. A salad plate may be omitted if the salad is to be eaten with the meal, and it can be served directly on the dinner plate. However, it is more acceptable to serve the salad on a separate plate to keep things neater. The napkin is folded and can be placed to the left of the forks or on the center of the dinner plate. The folded napkin can be placed under the forks. At the end, since more people use salt than pepper, the salt shaker is placed to the right of the pepper shaker, in a position closer to the right hand, and for added definition of pepper shaker is angled slightly above the salt shaker. Also, the lid of the salt shaker is punctured with smaller, more holes than a pepper shaker because salt is finer than pepper. Let us now know the important points to remember. Number 1. The lower edges of the utensils should be aligned with the bottom rim of the plate, about 1 inch up from the edge of the table. Number 2. Everything should be geometrically placed with every item at equal distances, approximately 1 inch away. Number 3. Do not include more than 3 utensils on either side of the dinner plate at a time, except when an oyster or seafood fork is being used in addition to the 3 forks. Number 4. There can be up to 5 glasses on a formal dining setting. Number 5 and the last, if there is a change in sequence of food served, rearrange the forks and knives accordingly.
Before I get started, let's address 2 questions. Number 1, what are table manners? Table manners is basically your behavior around the table. So how you hold cutleries, how you eat, even what kind of conversation you hold, all make up part of table manners. Second question that people often ask me, why do we even need table manners, especially in today's world where a lot of restaurants are casual dining places and we often have informal dining experience? The truth is, you need to have good table manners for your own good. You'll feel more comfortable at the table and you'll put others at the table at ease with your good manners. So whatever the occasion, whatever the degree of formality of the dinner is, make sure you put your best foot forward. Let's talk about seating arrangement. Where should you sit? If you're a guest and you're invited by a host or say your date, then you would wait for him or her to gesture you to the seat and take your seat afterwards. If you're the host, then you would do the same. You would point to the seat that's intended for your guest and he or she will take their seat. So the rule of thumb is that the guest always gets the best seat. That meaning he or she will be facing the main area, the entrance, so he or she will get the best view. If you have multiple guests, then one guest will be your guest of honor and you should save that best seat for him or her. Now that we have seated down, we need to remember a couple of rules. Number 1, don't slouch. Don't sit like this. Roll your shoulders backwards, straighten your back and sit straight. Number 2, don't press your back to the back of the chair. Imagine you have a little kitten behind your back, so you are not pressing the little kitten. Leave some space between the back of the chair and your own back. Number 3, do not place your elbows at a table when eating. However, it is acceptable to place your elbows at the table whenever you're taking a break between the meal to have a conversation. Number 4, according to American dining etiquette, you're supposed to leave your hands on your lap whenever they're not holding cutleries. In French dining etiquette, you're supposed to always rest your wrist at the table so your hands remain visible to your dining partners at all times. This comes from an old, outdated notion that you might be holding some weapon in your hand and you're hiding it on your lap underneath the table. The question that I get asked a lot is, what should I do with my phone or my bag? The general rule is that whatever does not belong to the dining experience by itself should be held away from the table. That applies to your phone and your bag. You should silence your phone before sitting down and put it in your pocket or your bag. For your bag, if it's a large bag, you can place it on a special little chair designed for that bag, or you can ask for a bag holder, which looks like a hook, and you can hang your bag from there. Else, you can also place your bag on an empty chair nearby, or it's nowadays acceptable to place a bag behind your back. But do it in a very rare cases. If you have a small bag that's like a clutch, you can place it on your lap and cover it with a napkin. Whatever you do, do not place your bag on a ground level. In some cultures and some traditions, it's deemed to bring bad luck, and actually, it shows that you don't respect the money that you're holding in your bag. So keep it always above the ground level. Let's now look at our dining table. Where should I start? This is my dinner table setting. I have a napkin, a plate, a soup spoon, salad fork and knife, main course fork and knife, dessert fork, dessert spoon. The dessert forks should be much smaller than this, but this is what I'm going to serve and I'll be using it. Next, I have the bread plate where I'm going to eat my bread, and I have a butter knife. So the interesting part about this knife is that unlike traditional knives, this has a dull blade and it's used to scoop the butter and to spread it rather than cut it. Next, I have my glasses. So in order not to confuse which one is whose, I'm gonna make this letters B and D with my fingers. So where B is pointing, that's where my bread plate and butter knife is, and where D is pointing, that's where the glasses are. In order not to confuse it with that of your dining partners, use this trick. So now you are seated down, you unfold the napkin. If you're the host, you would do it first to indicate it to your guests. You can do it in two ways. One, with folded lines facing outward, like this, or the other way around, when you have the folded lines facing inwards towards you. I actually prefer this way. This is because I can basically tap my fingers and leave the stains inside. So from the outside, my napkin looks perfectly clean. Once you place the napkin on your lap, you would use it to gently wipe your fingers and also dab your lips with it if necessary. If you are going to a bathroom and you will be back, you would place the napkin on the chair to indicate that you will be coming back. If you are leaving the table for good and you're not coming back, then you place the napkin on the left side of the plate, gently fold it, no need to shape it back to its original shape, and leave the table. If you happen to drop your napkin, you can pick it up if you're okay with that, or you can also indicate to the waiter that you want a new one. The glasses also often get confused. Which glass is for what? There's no need to worry about it because the waiter or the sommelier will usually fill your glass. But it's good to know what is for what. Let's look at this arrangement here. Generally, the taller glasses should be behind the shorter glasses, or the glasses are often arranged in the order of their height, from the tallest to the shortest. Looking at my arrangement, I can see that I have a glass for water, a glass for white wine, and a glass for champagne. So let's start with a water goblet. It usually doesn't have a stem, like you see in this case, and you would hold the water goblet by the bottom of the bowl, like this. This is quite recognizable glass. It's a champagne glass. It's long and thin. The shape ensures that the bubbles in the champagne stay intact while you're enjoying your drink. Also make sure that you hold this glass by the stem, so your fingers are not actually touching the bowl and are not warming up the drink while you're drinking it. This is a white wine glass. Unlike the red wine glass, which is shorter and larger, this glass is longer and thinner. The red wine glass is shorter and larger because red wines have much bolder taste notes and they need more area to breathe. With the red wine glass, you would hold by the bottom of the bowl. So imagine this is a red wine glass, you would hold it like this. For the white wine glass, you have to hold it by the stem so you don't warm up your drink while you're drinking it. So let's get started with our meal. Before you start, watch your host to commence. If he or she starts to eat, then it's time to enjoy your meal. If you're in a large group of people, then you would wait for everyone to be served with their meal and then you'll start to eat. So the bread plate is used to enjoy the piece of bread, and I use the butter knife to pick the butter and spread it on the bread piece, and then I'm gonna enjoy one bite at a time. The first meal that I'm going to be enjoying is a soup. I'm going to use the soup spoon, dip it in the center of the bowl, take it to the opposite edge of the bowl, slide gently, and then bring the spoon to my mouth in order to make sure that I don't get any spills on my lap. For my second course, I'm going to have a salad. I'm going to use a salad fork and salad knife. I will show you two ways of eating. One is American, which I'm going to currently show you. So you cut one bite of mozzarella and tomato at a time. Then you would place your knife and then you'd switch your fork to the other hand and eat it like that. The other way is the European or continental way of dining, where I would just use the fork and knife and in the same way and use it to cut my tomato and mozzarella. And then what's gonna happen, I'm gonna leave the knife in my hand and eat it like that. Here I have my main course, which is chicken breast with parmesan. I'm gonna use the main course fork and a main course knife to cut the chicken breast one piece at a time. When you're done with the meal, you place your fork and knife in a position 12 to 6 o'clock with tines facing upward or downward, like the French dining etiquette does usually. Or you can also place it in a position of 10 to 4 o'clock, just like this, and with a fork facing tines facing down or facing up. It's up to you. Once you've finished your main course, it's now time to enjoy the dessert. This is the perfect time to excuse yourself from the table and use the bathroom if you wish so. So here I have a dessert fork and a dessert spoon. I will slide them to the both sides, respective sides. I'm going to be using a fork as a holder and a spoon to cut as a knife. So I'm going to hold the dessert with a fork and cut it with the spoon. Then I'm going to use the fork to push any remaining particles that I want on my spoon and use the spoon to eat my dessert. Once you're done eating your dinner, it's time to indicate to the waiter that you're expecting the bill. You can do so by having eye contact with the waiter or by raising your hand at your elbow. Once you have paid the bill, it's time to leave. You should take your napkin, fold it not too neatly, and place it on the left side of your plate and leave. If you're the host, you do so indicating to your guest that it's time to leave. If you're a guest, you watch the host to do so and you leave. On a final note, if this was a dinner you were invited to, make sure you send a thank you message to the host the next day. If you really truly love the dinner experience, you might also consider sending flowers with a beautiful handwritten thank you note. I guarantee you a beautiful handwritten thank you note will serve you a long